My name is Caro, and growing up, I always believed family would be my safest place. I was wrong about that, at least when it came to my older brother Marcus. Marcus was loud, confident, and loved attention. I was quiet, careful, and liked to think before I spoke. People often compared us, and he enjoyed winning those comparisons. I learned early to stay calm and let things pass. The day everything began was the day Marcus announced his engagement. Our family gathered in the living room, smiling and clapping. His fiancée, Lena, stood beside him, kind and gentle, with eyes that watched more than they spoke. I congratulated them and truly meant it. But Marcus did not stop there. He laughed and said, "At least one of us finally made something of our life." Everyone laughed softly. My face felt warm, but I smiled. I told myself it was just a joke. Still, that moment stayed with me. I noticed how Marcus spoke about me more often, always in front of others. He would tease my job, my quiet nature, my slow steps in life. Each word felt small, but together they formed a heavy weight. I did not argue. I focused on my work, my goals, and my peace. I believed truth had time on its side. I did not know yet how important that belief would become. The weeks before the engagement party were tense for me. Marcus visited often, and every visit came with comments that felt sharp but were hidden behind laughter. He would say things like, "Caro still thinks hard work beats talent," or, "Some people move forward, others just watch." Each time people laughed, and each time I stayed silent. I kept reminding myself that silence was not weakness. I worked at a small planning office, helping organize events and records. I loved my job because it rewarded patience and detail. I believed effort mattered, even when no one clapped for it. Lena watched everything. When Marcus spoke, her smile stayed, but her eyes shifted to me. Sometimes she asked simple questions about my work or my plans. Her voice was calm, and she listened carefully. I appreciated that more than she knew. One evening after Marcus left, my mother sighed and said, "He jokes too much." I nodded but said nothing. I did not want to cause trouble. I only wanted peace. Still, something felt off. Marcus had started telling stories about me that were not fully true. Small changes, missing details. I knew then that staying quiet would not be enough forever. So I began keeping records, notes, and messages, just in case the truth needed help speaking later. The engagement party was planned for a Saturday evening, held at a large hall downtown. I arrived early to help set things up. I knew how events worked, and helping felt natural. People thanked me, and I felt useful, steady, and calm. Marcus arrived late, loud as always. He greeted everyone like a star walking onto a stage. Lena followed, graceful and polite. She thanked me for helping and said, "Details matter. You did well." Her words stayed with me. As guests filled the hall, Marcus began telling stories. First, they were about childhood memories. Then, slowly, his words turned toward me. He joked about how I overthink everything, and how I never take risks. Laughter filled the room. I felt my chest tighten, but I stood still. I reminded myself of the facts I knew, the work I had done, and the truth I carried quietly. Then Marcus said something new. He claimed I once failed an important task and needed his help to recover. That was not true. I had proof. Emails. Records. I glanced at Lena. Her smile faded slightly. She looked at Marcus, then at me. For the first time, the room felt quiet in a different way. Something had shifted, though no one said it out loud. After that night, I knew I could not ignore things anymore. Marcus's stories were growing, and each one pushed me into a corner I did not belong in. Still, I chose patience over anger. I believed rushing would only confuse the truth. At work, I focused harder than ever. I double-checked files, saved messages, and kept clear records of every task I handled. I did not do this out of fear, but out of confidence. I knew who I was, and I trusted my effort. Lena sent me a message one afternoon. She asked if we could talk sometime. Her words were polite and careful. I agreed. We met at a quiet cafe 2 days later. She asked about my work history and some stories Marcus had told. I answered calmly, sharing only facts. I showed her records when she asked. She did not interrupt. Her hands rested still on the table. When I finished, she said, "Thank you for being honest." Her face looked thoughtful, almost pale, like someone seeing a picture clearly for the first time. I did not feel proud or angry. Felt calm. I knew the truth was no longer only mine to carry. The final family gathering before the wedding was meant to be joyful. Everyone arrived dressed nicely, smiling and excited. I came with the same quiet confidence I had practiced for weeks. I knew whatever happened, I would remain steady. Marcus was in high spirits. He laughed loudly and spoke even louder. At one point, he raised his glass and began talking about character and success. Then he looked straight at me. "You should always listen to those who know better," he said, smiling. "Some people need guidance." The room waited for laughter. Did not come. Lena stood beside him. Her face turned light, almost pale. Her eyes did not move from Marcus. Then she spoke, her voice clear and calm. "You're the judge?" she asked. The room went silent. Marcus laughed, confused. "What do you mean?" Lena looked at me, then back at him. "I think it's time we listen to all sides," she said. My heart beat fast, but I did not speak yet. I knew this moment was not about winning. It was about truth finding its place. And for the first time, Marcus looked unsure. After Lena spoke, the room slowly filled with quiet chatter again, but nothing felt the same. Marcus avoided my eyes. He joked with others, yet his laugh sounded forced. I stayed calm, helping clear plates and refill glasses like nothing had happened. Inside, I felt steady, like I had prepared for this moment without knowing it. Later that evening, Lena found me near the window. She thanked me for coming and said she admired how calm I stayed. I told her calm was easier when you trusted the truth. She nodded, thoughtful again. Over the next few days, Marcus stopped calling me. That silence spoke louder than his jokes ever had. I used the time to focus on work. A big event project landed on my desk, and I handled it with care. Every detail mattered, and I made sure nothing was missed. One afternoon, my manager praised my work in front of the team. It felt good, but I did not boast. I simply smiled and returned to my desk. That night, Lena messaged me again. She said she wanted to understand more, not to argue but to be fair. I agreed to meet her again. I knew fairness was all I had ever wanted. We met at the same cafe, sitting by the window this time. Lena arrived early, holding a small notebook. She told me she had started writing things down, trying to understand patterns. I respected that. Showed care. She asked about moments from our childhood, about times Marcus spoke for me or over me. I answered honestly without anger. I shared how comparisons followed us everywhere and how silence became my shield. Then she shared something too. She said Marcus often spoke about being right, about leading others. She said she once admired that confidence, but now it felt heavy. Confidence should not need an audience, she said softly. I showed her more records, work emails, and messages Marcus had changed in his stories. She looked through them slowly, checking dates and names. Nothing dramatic happened. No raised voices. Just facts sitting calmly between us. When she closed the notebook, she looked relieved but sad. "Truth shouldn't feel this surprising," she said. He nodded. "It often hides behind noise." As we left, I felt lighter. I knew I had done my part without harming anyone. Whatever happened next would not be forced by me. Word travels quietly in families. I noticed changes before anyone said anything. Marcus grew tense. He corrected himself mid-sentence sometimes. Other times he stayed silent when he used to joke. I did not react. I treated him the same. One evening, my mother asked me to sit with her. She said Lena had asked thoughtful questions, and it made her reflect on past moments. She apologized for not noticing sooner. I hugged her and said it was okay. Healing did not need blame. At work, my event project ended successfully. Clients were happy, And my manager trusted me with more responsibility. I worked harder not to prove anything but because it felt right. Marcus finally called me. His voice sounded unsure. He asked if we could talk. I agreed. We met at a quiet park. He spoke first, saying people misunderstood his jokes. I listened. When he finished, I calmly shared how his words affected me. I did not accuse. I explained. He did not argue. He just stared at the ground. For once he had no quick reply. That silence felt like a turning point, even if nothing was fixed yet. The wedding date grew closer, and tension sat like a thin cloud over everything. Still no arguments broke out. That surprised me. I learned that silence, when guided by truth, could be powerful. Lena invited both Marcus and me to dinner one night. She said she wanted openness, not sides. I respected that. During dinner she spoke clearly. She said marriage needed honesty, not performance. She said jokes should never make someone smaller. Marcus listened, quiet and serious. Then she turned to me and said, "I asked you questions because you answered without anger." Her words meant more than praise. Marcus finally spoke. He admitted he liked attention and feared being unseen. He said he never thought his words could hurt this deeply. His voice shook just a little. I told him growth often starts with discomfort. I did not lecture. I did not demand apologies. Lena smiled softly, but her eyes were firm. "We move forward only with truth," she said. That night I walked home feeling stronger. Not because I had won, but because honesty had changed the room without force. The wedding day arrived bright and calm. I stood among family, watching Marcus and Lena prepare to begin their life together. Marcus looked different, quieter, thoughtful. Lena looked steady and sure. During the ceremony, when vows were spoken, I noticed how carefully Marcus chose his words. Each one felt real, not loud. I respected that effort. At the reception, he did not tease me. Instead, he thanked me privately for always being patient. He did not ask for forgiveness out loud, and I did not need him to. Growth does not always need a stage. Lena hugged me and whispered, "Thank you for trusting the truth." He nodded. As the night ended, I realized something important. Karma had not shouted or punished. It had simply revealed. Truth had done its work quietly, like light entering a dark room. I walked away knowing my strength was not in proving others wrong, but in staying right. I felt wiser, calmer, and more respected, even by myself. And that, I knew, was only the beginning. After the wedding, life slowed down in a gentle way. The noise that once followed Marcus seemed to fade, and in its place was something quieter. I noticed it first during small family visits. Marcus listened more. He spoke less. When he did speak, his words felt careful, like he was testing new ground. I returned fully to my routine. Work kept me busy, and I enjoyed that. I was trusted with planning a larger event, one that required teamwork and patience. I welcomed the challenge. I created timelines, checked details, and made sure everyone felt heard. For the first time, I felt seen without asking for it. One afternoon, Marcus stopped by my office. He waited until I was free before speaking. He said he was proud of me. The words sounded simple, but they carried weight. I thanked him without digging into the past. Lena later told me she encouraged open talks at home. She said honesty felt uncomfortable at first, but freeing after. I admired her strength. That night, I reflected on everything that had happened. I realized fairness was not about someone losing. It was about balance returning naturally. I slept peacefully, knowing I had stayed true to myself. Weeks passed, and small changes became clear. Marcus no longer spoke over people. At family meals, he asked questions instead of making speeches. Some habits returned slowly, but effort showed in the pauses he took before speaking. At work, my manager surprised me with a leadership role on another project. I hesitated at first, then accepted. I reminded myself that growth required courage. I guided my team with kindness, not pressure. I remembered how words could shape a room. Lena invited me for a walk one evening. She said she was learning what partnership really meant. Support is quiet, she said. I smiled, knowing exactly what she meant. She asked how I learned to stay calm through unfairness. I told her I trusted facts more than feelings in tense moments. Feelings mattered, but facts kept things clear. Later, Marcus messaged me to say he was trying to unlearn old habits. I replied with encouragement, not reminders of pain. I understood then that healing was not a straight line. Bent paused and moved again. But as long as truth stayed present, it would keep guiding us forward. A family celebration brought everyone together again. This time the air felt lighter. Laughter came naturally, without sharp edges. I noticed how people responded differently to Marcus now. They leaned in instead of bracing themselves. During dinner, an aunt asked about my work. Before I could answer, Marcus looked at me and said, "Caro has been leading big projects. She's really good at it." His tone was calm, not proud or loud. I felt surprised but grateful. I thanked him and shared my experience openly. No one interrupted. That moment felt like quiet justice. Later, Lena and I washed dishes together. She said trust was built in small actions, not grand speeches. I agreed. I had lived that truth for a long time. That night, Marcus apologized privately. He did not excuse his past behavior. He simply owned it. I accepted his apology without reopening wounds. Walking home, I felt lighter than ever. I realized respect did not need to be demanded. When truth stands firm, respect follows on its own. As months passed, I noticed my own growth too. I spoke more when it mattered. I trusted my voice without raising it. Confidence did not feel loud anymore. Felt steady. At work, my team completed another successful event. My manager thanked me for my leadership style. She said people worked better when they felt safe. That stayed with me. Marcus and I started having real conversations. Not comparisons. Not jokes. Just talks about goals, fears, and mistakes. We were learning each other again as adults this time. Lena once said, "You helped us see truth without forcing it." I reminded her she chose to listen. That choice mattered. I understood then that karma was not about waiting for someone to fall. It was about standing still long enough for truth to catch up. I felt wiser, not because life had been easy, but because I had stayed calm through its storms. Looking back, I saw how unfair moments shaped my strength. They did not break me. They guided me toward clarity. One quiet evening, I sat alone and thought about everything that had changed. The teasing, the silence, the turning points. None of it had been wasted. Every moment had taught me patience. Marcus sent me a message thanking me again for not fighting back with anger. He said seeing calm in the face of unfairness had changed him. I smiled softly. I realized that fairness does not always arrive loudly. Sometimes it arrives through reflection, through questions, through pauses in conversation. Lena later shared that her question, "You're the judge," had come from doubt, not courage. But doubt, I learned, could open doors truth walks through. I felt proud of myself. Not because I was proven right, but because I stayed whole. I did not lose my kindness or my focus. As I looked ahead, I knew challenges would still come. But I trusted myself now. Truth had become my anchor. Calm had become my strength. And respect, earned quietly, stayed. Life continued to move forward, and I moved with it instead of against it. I noticed that when I stopped expecting trouble, peace found space to grow. Marcus and I no longer walked on sharp ground. Our conversations felt balanced, like two people finally meeting in the middle. At work, a new challenge appeared. A large client questioned a report I had prepared months earlier. The concern was serious, and my team grew nervous. I felt the old pressure return, but I stayed calm. I reviewed every record, every email, every note. I trusted my process. When the meeting came, I spoke clearly and showed the facts. I did not rush or defend myself with emotion. The client listened, then nodded. The issue was resolved without blame. Later, my manager said, "Your calm saved this project." I smiled, knowing that calm had been shaped by past unfair moments. That evening, Marcus called me. He said he had watched how I handled pressure and wanted to learn from it. I realized roles had shifted quietly. I understood then that growth does not announce itself. It shows up in how you respond when tested again. A year passed faster than I expected. Lena and Marcus invited me to their home for dinner. It felt strange in a good way, like stepping into a chapter one never imagined before. Their home was simple and warm. During dinner, Marcus shared how he struggled with letting go of needing approval. He admitted it was easier to joke than to be honest. Lena held his hand, steady and supportive. I shared my own journey too. I told them how staying quiet once protected me, but later, honesty gave me confidence. We listened to each other fully. No one rushed to speak. After dinner, Lena said something that stayed with me. "Truth grows best where it feels safe," she said. On my way home, I thought about how far we had come. The pain had softened into understanding. The tension had turned into respect. I realized that karma had not chosen sides. It had chosen truth. And truth had gently reshaped all of us, without anger, without loss. At work, I was asked to mentor a younger colleague. She reminded me of myself. Quiet, careful, unsure if her voice mattered. I saw myself in her pauses. I encouraged her to trust her work and keep records. I told her calm did not mean invisible. Over time, she grew more confident, and I felt proud watching her step forward. Marcus noticed changes in me too. He once said, "You don't shrink anymore." I smiled because he was right. I had not grown louder. I had grown stronger. During a family gathering, someone joked about old times. Marcus gently changed the subject. That simple action meant more than any apology. Lena caught my eye and nodded. We shared a quiet understanding. That night, I wrote in my journal about how unfairness once felt like a wall. Now it felt like a bridge I had crossed. I learned that when you refuse to harm others, even with words, you protect your own peace. And peace, I learned, is powerful. One afternoon, Marcus asked me for advice. He said he wanted to speak honestly at work without trying to impress everyone. I shared what I had learned. Speak with purpose, not pride. Weeks later, he told me it helped. His workplace felt lighter, he said. I was happy for him. I realized then that fairness does not end when truth is revealed. Continues when people change. Lena invited me to help plan a small community event. We worked together smoothly, respecting each other's ideas. It felt natural, like teamwork should. During the event, someone thanked me for my organization. Thanked Lena too. Credit shared felt better than credit taken. As the day ended, I watched people smile and talk freely. I thought about how life reflects what you give it. I had given patience, honesty, and calm. Life returned clarity, respect, and growth. That balance felt right. One quiet morning, I sat by the window and reflected on everything. The teasing that once hurt, the silence that once protected me, and the truth that finally spoke. I realized I no longer carried anger. It had no place left to sit. Understanding had filled that space. Marcus and I met later that day for coffee. He thanked me again, not for forgiving him, but for staying true to myself. I thanked him for changing. Lena joined us, smiling warmly. She said fairness had taught her to listen deeply. I agreed. As I walked home, I felt complete. Not perfect, but whole. I understood now that respect earned through honesty lasts longer than attention gained through noise. The journey had shaped me into someone I trusted. And I knew, without doubt, that the strongest response to unfairness is calm truth, carried patiently, until it finds its moment to shine. As time passed, I noticed how people treated me differently. They did not rush past my words anymore. When I spoke, they listened. That change did not come from demanding respect. Came from consistency. I stayed honest, calm, and focused even when no one was watching. At work, I was officially promoted to lead planner. The announcement was simple, without drama. My manager said my reliability made the choice easy. I thanked her and thought about how far I had come from being quietly doubted. Marcus congratulated me first. His smile felt real, not forced. He said my journey taught him that success did not need noise. I believed him. Lena later told me she admired how I never rushed the truth. You trusted time, she said. I realized then that timing mattered as much as facts. Truth spoken too early can be ignored. Truth spoken calmly at the right moment settles deeply. That night I felt proud of myself again. Not for winning anything but for becoming someone steady. Someone I could rely on. A new challenge appeared when an old family friend brought up past jokes, laughing like nothing had changed. The room went quiet. I felt the old tension try to return. Before I could speak, Marcus calmly said, "We don't joke like that anymore." His voice was respectful, firm, and clear. The moment passed gently. No argument, no shame, just growth. Later, Marcus apologized for not stopping such moments sooner. I told him growth happened in steps, not leaps. We both smiled. That evening, Lena said something that stayed with me. Truth doesn't rush. It waits until people are ready to hear it. I thought about how unfairness once made me doubt myself. Now it reminded me of my strength. I wrote in my journal that night, not about pain but about progress. About how calm choices created lasting change. I realized fairness was no longer something I waited for. It was something I lived by. At a community meeting, I was asked to speak about organizing events. Standing in front of others once scared me. This time it didn't. I spoke clearly and simply, sharing what I knew. Afterward, a few people thanked me. One young woman said my calm made her feel brave. I smiled, remembering who I used to be. Marcus and Lena attended the meeting. Marcus told me he felt proud watching me speak with confidence. That meant more than applause. On the walk home, Lena said, "Your calm changed our family." I corrected her gently. "Listening changed it." She nodded. That night I understood something deeply. Unfairness did not define my story. My response to it did. I had chosen patience over anger, truth over noise, growth over pride. And those choices shaped everything that followed. Life felt balanced now. Not perfect but fair. I faced problems with clarity instead of fear. I trusted myself to handle what came next. Marcus continued working on himself. Sometimes he slipped, but he noticed and corrected himself. That effort mattered. One evening we talked about the past openly without pain. The memories felt lighter, like lessons, not wounds. Lena thanked me for never forcing answers. "You let truth breathe," she said. I realized that strength did not come from being right. It came from being steady. As I prepared for future goals, I felt ready. Whatever came, I would face it with honesty and calm. That was my promise to myself. Looking back, I see the full picture clearly now. My brother's taunts once made me feel small. But they also taught me patience, discipline, and trust in truth. When Lena asked, "You're the judge," she did not accuse. She questioned. That question changed everything. Karma did not punish. It revealed. It slowed things down so truth could be seen. I did not rise by pushing anyone down. I rose by standing firm. Today, I walk with confidence that does not need approval. I speak with honesty that does not harm. I listen more than I judge. I learned that respect earned through calm truth lasts longer than attention gained through noise. And if unfairness ever finds me again, I know what to do. I will stay calm. I will stay honest. I will trust the truth to do its work. That is my story.